Music restrictions. All right, man. Thank you for coming aboard on today's Perception versus Reality. And generally speaking, that's when I come in, just getting to something that's on my mind. So let's get on into it. Ezekiel Elliott. You know, there've been they got a couple of stories out and talking about how he's facing suspension and something might happen as a result of his recent actions. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into that. Okay, first and foremost, there have been no charges filed. Right now, what you have is speculation and hearsay. And you can tell from the headline the way they worded it. And you have to be careful the way they worded it. It's kind of a little game they play. They're very slick in their delivery. It's subtle, but it's effective. They said he is involved. If he actually had something to do with it, if there was anything solid, they would have no problem saying Zeke Elliott did this and that. If something like that happens and somebody that's with him or somebody that's perceived to be with him in that place gets into a scuffle or an argument or a fight, you're going to say he's involved. Why? Because that's where the money is. Of course you're going to do that. Nowadays, a person that does that is considered a hero, almost a folk hero. You got a chance to get in a reality show, being on the news, becoming a quote-unquote internet sensation. Some people die just to have that type of attention. So things like that are going to happen. You can have your opinions on what he should have been, what he should have been doing, but the point here is the severity of the so-called act and the evidence to point towards what he's actually done. And what he's actually done, according to this evidence, is a whole bunch of nothing, and speculation. But they seem to be very, very eager and or on top of their game when discussing Zeke Elliott. A couple of things about this, to me. Now how I'm looking at this. Okay, and let's just go over the way they're covering it and what's being said about it. Police said in a statement that they were called to a scene and discovered a 30-year-old male who had claimed to have been physically assaulted. And he said he didn't know who assaulted him. The victim was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Meaning he probably took a few licks, but, you know, he's trying to get some bread, so you got to go to the hospital. And just me speculating, but, you know, it is what it is. But according to TMZ, a friend of the guy that was assaulted said it was a Dallas Cowboys running back, quote-unquote. No arrests were made, and no one is listed as a suspect. Let me repeat that. No arrests were made, and nobody is listed as a suspect. Yet and still, this is on everybody's show on the 4-Letter Network. I tuned in earlier to, I'll say Ebo Money. That's the only person I tune into every now and again, just to hear what the quote-unquote mainstream flow of the day is, just to get a feel for it. And you know, they had a little punk ass Adam Schefter come on there and he came right in. Well, you know, there's speculation that Zeke Elliott was involved in an assault at a bar, and I'll tell you what, the NFL's not taking this lightly. And Bomani was asking, okay, well, why are you talking about this? There's no charge and whatnot, so why is the NFL talking about suspending him? Now, this is what this dude said. He said that the NFL said that, well, they said they're not going to make the same mistake they made last time. They're not going to make the mistake with Ray Lewis. They don't care about what the prosecutors say. They don't care about the law. They're going to do their own investigation. There's nothing to investigate. Nothing has happened. What they're doing right now is saying he can still get suspended even though nothing has happened legally. He's not been charged. He's not been involved in anything as far as being in a foul of the law. But yet and still they're talking about suspending him regardless of what happens in that, regardless of what the law says, what happens legally. They're saying they might suspend him if they feel something has been done or he's violated policy in some kind of way. The problem with that is the inconsistency. Deja vu all over again. Johnny Manziel, for one, assaulted his girlfriend twice, once busting her eardrum. The NFL did nothing. On top of that, the media did nothing. They weren't on top of it. Why are you jumping all over Zeke Elliott for speculation and nothing is confirmed? Nothing is more than hearsay. And if you know if there was anything even remotely solid, they will be talking about it. They get off on it. They enjoy it. That's what they do. If you got melanin, if you're a colonizer, you get a pass. If you got melanin, they get in your ass. So you know what the deal is when it comes to news coverage. It's consistently biased because the people that cover sports are biased towards ninjas. It's that plain and simple if you pay attention to the way they do their business. In this situation, they're talking about Zeke. Nothing is there. Speculation. But in the case of Johnny Manziel, he beat his girlfriend twice. First time without witnesses, he smashed her head against the wall in the car. The police came, questioned him. The media didn't even cover it. It wasn't even a top story the next day. But everybody's covering this. He busted his girl's eardrum. Is busted to this day. Her life is forever altered. And they still don't care. When they talk about Johnny, certain teams are saying he might be able to come back. They think he can still play. They're not after him. My point is, when they go after somebody, it's purposeful. They want that person to get in trouble. They want to affect their career. They didn't care about Johnny Manziel beating this girl, but the speculation of Zeke Elliott maybe assaulting somebody when there's no evidence that that actually happened, and it's a top story. How does that work? Adam Schefter speculated that he could face a short suspension. He never even speculated that about Johnny Manziel, and nothing happened to him, as a matter of fact. Now, if this is about no tolerance, and this is what Adam Schefter said. He said that the NFL said they're doing their own investigation. They got to make sure that everything is right, because last time they trusted the authorities. They're talking about with Ray Lewis. Now, they're not even taking responsibility for what they did. They're saying they trusted the authorities, and it's the authorities' fault, when everybody know they had saw the tape already. They're just mad because it got out. So now they're holding on to it, and now they want to be abrupt about being upset about things. They weren't upset about Johnny Manziel. They really didn't care about Josh Brown. As a matter of fact, when Adam Schefter brought up Josh Brown, he just said, and Josh Brown and the alleged incident. Alleged? It wasn't alleged. He whooped his wife's ass several times. He was arrested. That's not alleged, but look how he worded it. But with Zeke, he's being all affront and upset, like Zeke actually did something. Josh Brown actually whooped his wife's ass several times, and he called it an alleged incident. It's in the wording. Deja vu all over again. They don't care if it's a colonizer, but if you a ninja and the speculation, they off at you. Zeke has not been charged with anything. The people I'm talking about actually committed an actual assault. They're supposed to be upset about that. They're not. What about Brock Turner, who committed a rape with eyewitnesses, got 6 months, only served 3, at home now? They didn't cover it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't put anything about it on the news coverage. But you're talking to me about Zeke. It makes absolutely no sense. Well, it makes sense because they have an agenda. My only point is, how are they still credible? At the end of the day, I just want to know how they still credible when they constantly conduct themselves in this manner. Zeke Elliott has speculation and he's being talked about, but you ignore Johnny Manziel, who actually committed domestic violence. You ignore Brock Turner, who raped a woman with eyewitnesses, got 6 months, and you're not offended. You're not talking about it. You're not. The NFL, when the NFL had Johnny Manziel right there, Adam Schefter was not on the radios talking about they're going to do their own investigation. They did nothing. They didn't check into it. They didn't care. He didn't get in trouble. He didn't get suspended, anything. But you're all over this. It's the same thing over and over again with the news coverage and the way they're covering these sports. They don't care about what the act is. They care about who's committing it. Let's go with pedophile state. Did you know that's still going on? They're still paying out people trying to hush things up. The president, the vice president, the former president, the former vice president, and the former athletic director all got sentenced to jail, charged with failure to report a sexual assault. Covering up child molestation. They just didn't think it was that important. They didn't call the police. They're not even talking about that, but they're covering Zeke Elliott. My only point is, if this is the same network that's giving us all these other stories and you pay attention to what they're doing here, please stop giving them so much credit. For those that do, when you hear a story, it doesn't mean that it's gold. It doesn't mean that it's solid. Nothing should be legitimized because it comes on their network. If anything, you should speculate over it. You should question it, because they're less than credible and they do things like this all the damn time. They're going to be doing it all year and they're going to continue to talk about Zeke, but other things are going to be swept under the rug. So I just hope we pay attention to that and realize he actually hasn't committed a crime. But the people that do, like a Johnny Manziel, like a Brock Turner, like pedophile state, whose president, vice president, and athletic director all got sentenced to jail, how is that like it should still be all over the news. They should still be talking about that. If they were upset about pedophilia and children getting raped as they are about speculation about Zeke Elliott hitting a grown man, maybe, just maybe, more awareness will be brought to it, but it's not offensive to him. But what Zeke did is. So we need to pay attention to who the messenger is, man, because they're just not credible at the end of the day. Now when you look at the things they ignore and the things they choose to cover and get upset about, the perception is that Zeke Elliott is making poor choices, which is why the media is talking about him so much. In reality, the mainstream is so privileged, short-sighted, and racist that they will ignore DUIs, domestic violence, rape, and pedophilia by a colonizer, but will give speculation and accusation against the ninja non-stop 24-hour coverage. I appreciate everybody coming aboard. Let's take a ride. This is the Underground Railroad Show with that ninja on Spreaker.com, broadcasting live on WSME. Appreciate everybody coming aboard and rolling with me, man. We're going to try to keep this train rolling smooth. Yeah, I know there's a couple of jokes in here. Probably something about aluminum foil and dial-up. Yeah, it's hysterical. I get it. I take those jokes because there's been a couple of technical errors here and there last couple of weeks. I'll give you that. Doesn't mean the jokes are necessary. I definitely don't deserve them, but I mean, do what you do. Appreciate everybody coming aboard, man. That was my opening rant about, I don't know, what they're trying to call a top story. It's a bunch of BS at the end of the day. But this is the Underground Railroad Show. That's how I start my show off, my perception versus reality. Then I go through the train, introduce everybody, get reaction to the opening rant, keep it pushing, man, and get into the topics. And while we're sitting here, let's get into the topics of the day. Today we're going to get into some NFL topics, story on Dak Prescott, a couple of articles I read here and there, my take on them, man. A story on Dak Prescott, story on the Carolina Panthers. Interesting article about some comments by Jason Campbell, former quarterback for the Washington team, among several other teams in the NFL. Interesting quote by Bruce Arians, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. A couple of college football stories. One of them about the aforementioned pedophile state university. Did I say that? I didn't mean that. My bad. That's completely disrespectful. My bad. What I meant to say was Penn State University. But a discussion about them as well, kind of centered around a couple of things I got on. I might get into I don't know what you would call it, somewhat of an NBA topic. We're definitely going to give out the Cow Award, which is the Colonizer of the Week. If you're not familiar, it's basically an award that goes back to somebody that kind of exudes and or inhibits and or shows the attributes of a throwback colonizer. I'll elaborate on that later, man. But I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll figure it out later. It's fairly obvious. It's all good. Appreciate everybody coming aboard, man. Let's go ahead and introduce everybody that has come aboard the train and get a little reaction to the opening rant, man. Then we're going to get into a lot of football today, man. Got some college football topics, got some NFL topics, got a little bit of an opinion on somewhat of an NBA story. We'll get into that as well. But until we do all that, we got my man JB Jennings on the train. What's going on, sir? First man aboard. Come in talking shit. I see you still 30 minutes late.
Motherfucker.
Hey man, I had to make sure everything was on the up and up. My bad. So I'm late. I'll take the jokes. It's all good. I mean, I'm not bitter.
Shut up, dummy.
It's all gravy. But I mean, jokes ain't necessary again, man. It's supposed to be family. Actually, JB Jennings was actually on the very first show I ever did, man. So you know what? It's all good, JB. You all right with me now. I went back and did some research. The very first show I ever did, JB was in the chat room. So I'll give you a slide. I actually was late. 30 minutes on the dot. So it's not like you told a lie. It's all gravy, though. Appreciate everybody coming aboard, man. And I believe I see some VIP on the train. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the attorney for Real Cast and X Squad. Constant knowledge dropper that comes in the train dropping bombs on a regular basis. Everybody knows when Sluggo the
motherfucking hammer.
Appreciate you coming aboard, sir. No doubt about it. Thank you for coming aboard, sir. Sluggo comes in and drops constant bombs. Very knowledgeable gentleman. I'm biased, though. Appreciate you coming aboard, sir.
This is Mocha Bella, and when I'm not cheering for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, or the Miami Hurricanes, I'm riding on a train with that ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got Miss Mocha Bella on the train. What's going on, Mocha Bella? Thank you for coming aboard.